friend of mine gave me this book on Hanukkah. It's a kid's book on Hanukkah a few years ago, and I read it this year again, and it just really hit me how relevant it is, well, for any time in history, but especially this year. So a friend of mine said, will you read it on video so we can have a story time? So I thought I'd include all of you too. So the name of the book is Maccabee, The Story of Hanukkah. It's by Tilda Balsley, and I'm going to try to read it so you can see the pictures. At Hanukkah, we tell the story of ancient faithfulness and glory, of freedom lost and freedom won by Jews who knew what must be done. The Greeks had gods, yes, more than one. God of the sea, God of the sun, throwing a party, God for fun. King Antiochus ruled the land. Bow down to them was his command, and that's not all I order you, to dress and eat and act Greek too. No way, said every faithful Jew. Sometimes it only takes a few who know what's right and do it too. But Antiochus had great power. When they refused, his mood turned sour. Jerusalem, he snarled and frowned, will desecrate their holy ground. Put statues of our gods around. Stamp out the traitors where they're found. Some Jews gave in and some Jews fled. Then one Jew, Mattathias said, to your idols I won't pray. Your laws aren't mine, I won't obey. He drew his sword and got away. Sometimes it only takes a few who know what's right and do it too. But Mattathias said, I'm old, we need a leader, strong and bold. I have 5 sons, whom should I choose? And he conducted interviews. Jonathan is plenty smart, and Simon knows a martial art. The other 2 will do their part. Oh, but Judah, what a heart. He called to Judah the first at first light. Our farmers, shepherds, you'll unite. Deep in the mountains, out of sight. With patience, teach them how to fight. Then lead attacks through dark of night. Said Judah, eager, brave, and bright, count on me to do what's right, with all my heart and all my might. Sometimes it only takes a few to know what's right and do it too. So Judah led the scrappy band to fight for the freedom through the land. Now all admired his strong command. He's like a hammer in our hand. So Maccabee was his new name. The Maccabees gained instant fame. The armies of the king were strong. They thought they'd won, but they were wrong. The Maccabees fought hard and long. King Antiochus finally said, enough, enough, enough bloodshed. Then Judah's men saw just ahead Jerusalem with ruins spread. And though they'd won, they moaned and said, all is lost, this place is dead. Did Judah wail and hang his head? No, he told them all instead. Sometimes it only takes a few to know what's right and do it too. Our temple is a royal mess, but we have come to repossess. So do I have a volunteer to get the idols out of here? I see the courtyard's gone to weeds, who'd like to plant some flower seeds. Someone called, look what I found, our broken altar on the ground. And Judah said, who's good with bricks? These are problems we can fix. Enthusiasm filled the air as people scurried everywhere. A new menorah, aren't we clever? Its holy light will burn forever. A search for oil was underway, but bad news spoiled their holiday. This jug will last for just one day. The people cried, but it takes 8 to make more oil, and that's too late. You're right, said Judah, we can't wait. Use what we have, that little bit. They all agreed, and the oil was lit. The next day still it burned like new, the 3rd and 4th and 5th day too. For 3 more days their wonder grew. Free to worship without fear, they said, remember, every year a miracle has happened here. And like brave Judah, they all knew. Sometimes it only takes a few to know what's right and do it too. If Judah were alive today, what would he do and what would he say? He'd smile at the familiar sight of our menorah burning bright and join in prayers that we recite. He'd thrill us with a tale or two about his brave and loyal crew. We'd beg for more when he was through. But Judah lived long, long ago. Of course he can't come see us, so some of these things we'll never know. Yet we'll remember this, it's true. Sometimes it only takes a few.
You know, just as we're finishing up here, we really want to give this woman credit for what she wrote. I have to lighten up a little bit. I feel like Vanna White sitting here next to Chritstie. I don't really have any purpose but to hold the book. But
So what I was thinking about when I read this book this year was all the times in history that the Antichrist spirit has risen up to try to stop what God's about ready to do. I thought about what happened in the time of Moses when he was about to deliver. God was ready to send a deliverer for the children of Israel to go out of Egypt. And right at that time, Pharaoh had an edict to kill all the male babies. And it was the two midwives that rose up, stood against that edict of Pharaoh, and saved them from that Antichrist spirit. Again, we saw it in the book of Esther when Haman rose up in that same spirit that wanted to kill all the Jews because they carried a promise. There was a promise to Abraham that through their seed all the nations would be blessed. The Messiah was coming through their seed, and Satan knows that and again tried to stop it. Again, in the story we just read in Antiochus Epiphanes, the Syrian king who came and took over Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, and wanted all the Jews to bow down to his gods. And we saw with the story that it was a few righteous men who rose up against it and fought for the things that God loved and for the future of what all those prophecies hold. And again, we saw it right after the birth of Jesus. Herod rose up and ordered the male babies 2 years and under to be killed, to kill off that seed, to kill off the what he heard was that the Messiah one, the anointed one, had been born, and he wanted to kill him in that Antichrist spirit before he could come to do what God sent him to do. And then right before the nation of Israel was born, we saw Adolf Hitler rise up in that same Antichrist spirit and try to annihilate the Jews once more. And out of that, right after that, like I said, the nation of Israel is born. So what I thought of is what is God about ready to do? Because this Hanukkah, this year, we all see that the enemy is raging, not just in America, all over the world. And it is that Antichrist spirit again trying to stop something. So it makes me think, what is God about ready to do? I believe that this Hanukkah, we might be saying that God did a great miracle, just like in the book of the story of the Maccabees. So I'm believing, let's keep praying that because of how much the enemy is on a rampage right now, that God's ready to do something, and maybe ask God, what can we do? What's our part to play? You know, we pray, and that's a lot, but just what do you want us to do? So I'm actually excited and have an anticipation of this Hanukkah season. So
but I just want to add one other little quick thing. Again, I was really struck by the idea of a few. You know, that's not enough to just see what's right. But they responded. They actually risked to do it. But even as some of you out there have maybe never done Hanukkah or have done it somewhat, in all the things that especially Chritstie teaches about the biblical feasts, but our heart is not that you become experts or get locked into a certain right way of doing it. But part of it is that what if this is the year that we're actually a part of the story? I mean, we're always a part of the story, but let's keep our hearts in such a way before the Lord that we don't get too entangled with the mechanics of it, but show up for the appointment. Show up with open hearts. Ask the Lord, what if this is the year that a few rise up, a few say yes to what God's doing, or even begin to ask? But it's really a special time. Every year that the Lord sets these appointments, it's a special time that he gathers his people before him and together. And we get to say, what are you doing this year, Lord? What do you have in mind? So, Christian, I bless you this Hanukkah season.
I believe it's a prophetic Hanukkah season.
Yeah.
So let's see what the Lord's going to do this year.
We want all the best for you and your household, for our nation and the nations of the world, and for the children of Israel. What are you doing, Lord? What can we be a part of? What can we be part of the few that respond? So we bless you guys, and thanks for listening and watching.